What's always funny to me is that the minute I stop recording is when the render finishes. But so here it is, and now you can see that we're starting to get a much cooler look just by putting those volumetrics back there. The second box cloned back there is starting to work pretty well. I'm not entirely sure about these pipes up here, and I think I have a solution for those because I want it to be a little bit softer, but so far the effect is coming along nicely. Just a nice soft glow. We've got a whole glow on the entire scene. We got a little hot spots here from our point lights with the inverse fall off. Okay, so it's working pretty well. Just some nice streaks in there that you're not quite sure what's happening. So I'm going to go back to objects, go back to these pipes, and let's just see if we can move them up. And I don't remember, did I take the roof off of this? Yeah, I think I did. Or did no, I didn't. That's good. Okay, and what I want to do, because the box itself, the boxes are transparent, let's keep the pipes on the outside, because that way it'll just create a little bit, yeah, just a little transition. Yeah, that's. I didn't remember if I had taken the. I know I took the fronts off. Okay, so those pipes are actually up on the outside now, and the reason for that is that we don't want to be as deliberate with them. Okay, like that. Okay, so with the, I'll save the scene. With the image being transparent, excuse me, with the box being transparent, that image of the pipes will be just a little bit less. Okay, and we'll still get our shadows coming through. But for now, that'll work okay. So the scene is saved. So let's jump into Modeler, and we'll start building our film strip. So Shift N for new. Click the A key to fit everything to view and kind of reset your grid. And simply, all you have to do is just create a box, and just go like that. You don't really need any segments or anything at this point. You know what? Do make segments. Press your up arrow quite a few times. Something like that. If you press N for numeric, you can see what we did here. About 28 segments on the Y. And actually, let's do 60, and I'll tell you why. All right, so 60 segments on the Y for this box, because we may want to bend it. I thought to make a separate object entirely, but we'll keep this one just in case. Now, it's not facing forward. Looks like it's facing backwards, so press F to flip it. Press Q and call this vertical film strip. And we'll save it. Film strip. I already got one there. We'll save it as that. Replace it. And let's send it to layout. Okay, and there it is. And I could just scale it up. Now for this one, we're considering this being a feature film, not a photography thing, so the film's got to be vertical. Okay, now we can do two things. We can put it in the background, okay, or we can kind of attach it to the front of the lens. So here's how I'm going to do that. I'm going to press M for motion options. All right, and because the film strip was selected, it's motion options for film strip. I was training somebody the other day, and they were often confused about all the panels open. You know, we had textures open, we had, you know, an envelope, and they weren't quite sure what was going on. And I noticed that with a lot of people. So if you're ever confused, just look at the top. There's always a header bar. So this is the diffuse values, the texture editor for diffuse. Oh, okay. Which we don't really need. So, by the way, if you ever click one of these on, hold the Shift key, click on it to turn it off. You can't go back, though. You can't undo, so be careful. Okay, so motion ops for film strip. Let's parent that to the camera. Yes, parent to the camera. Okay, let's press 2 to get to our top view. And let's change our textured view to a wireframe, or even a bounding box. And that will allow us to see things a little bit clearer. And then we're going to move this guy right to the camera. Now, if you notice, once I parented that, look at the handles. The handles oriented themselves to the camera, which is great, but I still need to rotate this. Just on the heading, so it matches up my camera. If I go back to camera view, and we can go back to a textured view, then press T and move this around. Now we have this film strip oriented to the camera. Just kind of like that. And we can put it off to the side. It can hang off the edge there. Okay. Now, just press the Y Or actually, don't press Y yet. Turn off X and Z, and then press T, and then use your right mouse button, and you can move it just up and down. And the good thing about that is, as you move that, even when you move the camera, see that? That film strip stays with. Okay, because it's parented to the camera. Take a look at it from a different view. That film strip's always going to stay right there. Okay, so it's just one added element. So we'll Shift S, give ourselves a new scene. Surface Editor. Okay, pipe and film strip. Let's open up the film strip. Vertical film strip, that's the surface we gave it. For transparency, hit Texture. It's going to be an image map, blending it normally. It's going to be a planar map, and the image will be the film strip or film strip 2. Okay, now film strip, let me show you what happens here. Kind of disappears, right? Let me do automatic sizing on the Z-axis. And what happens is you get this stretched. Take a look at it from a front view. That image now is just stretched all the way on there because I did automatic sizing. So it took that image and pretty much just pinned it 4 corners, which is fine because now all I got to do is just scale down that image on the Y-axis. Oh, and turn off. Yeah, no, we don't have to turn off the repeat, but let's just scale that down. Okay. If we were going to be positioning it somewhere, we might want to turn off the with repeat, but I think we're okay here. You can often just turn it to edge just to be safe. But height, we do want to repeat, because if you turn that off, well, you're only going to have one film strip, which you might want just simply as a mask, as a whole. Okay, and the reason it's a whole is because the white is allowing the transparency to work, and the black is not, because, again, we are in the transparency editor for the surface. And if we repeat that, we get that nice film strip. So in looking at that, that can work very well for us. We may or may not want it to be solid black. It could be. That could be an element in the background. But what works well, not anything in this scene, and most of your broadcast graphics shouldn't be 100% opacity. They should have some variation to them. So what you can do is then, if you bring this up, nothing's going to happen because the map is overriding it, right? So you can come in here, and if you bring the layer opacity down, watch what happens. We'd have to render it to see it. It will be somewhat faded, not the black, but the actual hole right in here. Okay, so you could do that. Or another thing you can do is actually add, not so much a gradient, but a procedural. This will be kind of neat. If you put the procedural underneath the film strip with turbulence, and let's see if we can get Viper to show this. And we might have to do a render, and that's going to take too long. A turbulence, this black and white value, if we blend the film strip layer, you can actually blend it with the turbulence layer. Okay, so let me do that. Film strip, the blending mode, let's just do difference. Okay, and turbulence I just left on as default. And turbulence, that's just a procedural texture. I added a layer. It's a procedural texture, computer generated texture. And we'll do a F9 render, and we'll move on to the next video, and you'll see what this looks like.